Hello and welcome to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and it is my honor to be on the air with you all today. Just a friendly reminder to make sure that you are staying safe when you are around other people, whether that means using safety precautions or simply just keeping your distance so that you do not contract any viruses or just get sick around others. And even when you're going in places you're unfamiliar with, make sure you use the buddy system so that you can ensure your safety. Also, before I go any further, I encourage you right now to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to the show on the go with your family and friends. Also, tag a friend and make sure that they're tuning in. Today, you actually really want to tag a team because today's discussion is going to be very important for my fellow peers and I, and it's going to be a great conversation. Just to get right into everything, as you may know, school is in session. That means students are juggling new assignments, teachers, peers, and many challenges. A few weeks ago, I discussed some back to school tips from the perspective of youth from me and one of my close friends. But I wanted to hone in on one of the major issues or major steps of school that a lot of students have to go through, and that is standardized testing. Several high school students, including myself, are preparing to take college entrance exams, which will help us get into our desired college of choice or higher education program. For many, test taking can be nerve-wracking, stressful, and even cause anxiety. However, I believe with the right assistance from others and through hard work that you can successfully ace the test and get through it without problems. So today, I thought it would be nice to have a conversation with Dr. Chanta Haywood, a university educator and dean, about getting smart for college. During our discussion, we'll talk about some effective ways to better prepare for college entrance exams and college life. And before she comes in, I want to give her a nice introduction. So Dr. Haywood has been a university dean, associate provost, and vice president at universities in 3 states, and she has an appointment. She has held an appointment with the Department of Education during the Obama administration. She recently lectured at Yale on her book, Professing Daughters, which is about Black women preachers during slavery. She is currently on the faculty at Florida State University. Her company's College Smart Now program gets students in, through, and out of college so that they can change the world. Her ACT-SAT course has improved the scores of students from around the country. Her name, again, is Dr. Chanta Haywood, and welcome to the show, Dr. Haywood.
Thank you so much, Kaylin, for having me.
It is my pleasure. I am so glad to have you on. And if y'all don't know, she is a phenomenal woman that I look up to, that I'm grateful to have learned tips and just different tokens of wisdom from her. So glad to have you on.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for having me on. And I also just want to let you know how exceedingly proud of you I am. And when I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Thank you. So we have getting smart for college. That is today's conversation. So I want to ask you, why do you think it's important for students to get smart for college?
You know what, Kaylin, that's a very good question. I always say that there's smart and then there's college smart. And what I mean by that is that, you know, there are so many students just like you and so many of your peers who do extremely well in high school. They do well in their classes and they are really smart. But there's a different type of preparedness and smartness that you need when it's time to go to college. And so as a college professor and as someone who's been a dean and an associate provost and a vice president, I know specifically the skills that students are going to need to prepare and to do well when they come to any college campus or university. So being college smart means getting the skills sets that you need in order to really navigate the college classroom, the college social environment, and all.
Yes, I like that you use the word navigate because I'm starting to see, and I know a lot of people have seen that college can be an easy road. I mean, for those, it's not as easy to always go through. You have to go with meeting new people and being able to adapt to new professors, new style of learning. And I'm dual enrolled, so I am able to get that right now while going to TCC. But I know that even with preparing for college, there are just some things that you can't really prepare yourself for. You got to get used to it and adapt for it. But for the things you can prepare for, that comes into standardized testing. I mean, there are a lot of students who probably don't like the word standardized testing because they have negative connotation with it. But being able to know that you have skills and you have different tips that you can help to alleviate the pressure that it may have, or be able to allow students to not feel as scared about test taking, is awesome to know.
Mhm. You're so right, Kayla. So many students get anxious about standardized tests because, look, so much rides on them. Whether or not you advance to the next level in high school, whether or not you can even complete the test in order to graduate from high school. And then here we have the ACT and the SAT that are needed and that determine whether or not you get into college. Or now with some colleges even eliminating those or not factoring those in, you still have the fact that the ACT and the SAT are used to determine whether or not you get scholarships. So much rides on them. That's why so many students are anxious about them. But I contend that a lot of students are anxious about the test because they're not confident in themselves and in their abilities. And so one of the ways that students can offset that anxiety associated with those tests is to build their confidence. And that's a lot of what I do. I help them build their confidence by not only enhancing their knowledge, like the subject matter, but teaching them some things that traditionally test prep programs do not teach. And that is, I focus on the structure of the test. You remember that.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
When you understand how the test is structured, when you know how many questions there are, how many questions tend to focus on the comma, how many questions focus on trig or algebra, you go in there with a better understanding and you feel a little more confident. And then I also teach them how to understand how to think critically about the test. And one way that I do that is to teach the students how to think the way the persons who write the test think. You understand how the test writer thinks. You understand what goes into developing questions so that you can unpack them. You're more confident, and so you're less anxious when you go into the test. Now, there are some students, regardless, they're going to be a little nervous, but after a few minutes, you start to really get confident because you see that everything I told you is right there. There are no surprises on testing.
I agree. I mean, I'm one of those students who was able to get help from Dr. Haywood. And I mean, being able to learn these things, I agree with you. Confidence is key because I mean, I've always had my problems with test taking, especially time tests, because that goes into having to use those time management skills and use your time wisely. And being able to learn about confidence, it definitely is key because now when I'm taking them, even though I still have to for college, I'm realizing that I'm not as nervous. I'm not having to worry about feeling that the time is pressuring me, and I'm starting to learn how to actually take tests effectively. And I feel that one of the tips that you said about being able to get basically in the minds of the test writers, I think is very important because you can see, once you see how it is structured and once you see how to take it, it does get easier eventually.
Yeah, because it's not just about the subject matter. It's about that test. How test writers create those four options. Having those two options that are going to completely just distract you. They're called distractors. And then you get down to those other two, and each of them seems to be the correct answer. but then knowing our strategies for eliminating the one of those final two that is almost always wrong, that is how you help eliminate, the anxiety. And the little tips that, we teach you all how to go through the test and do all of the little short ones first, like in the English section, the little quick ones, and then going back and doing the longer ones. That saves time. And once you get those time saving techniques, and that's a very good point that you raised about that time management. That's why a lot of students get anxious. So we really focus on that time management part too. And that makes you less anxious because you go in there knowing that you have a strategy for dealing with the time.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, there is, as you mentioned, anxiety that goes beyond the thing. I mean, a lot of people get anxiety from tests, they get anxiety from new challenges, they get anxiety even for preparing for college, whether that's leaving home. And I mean, learning these strategies, for those listening, I hope you know that the strategies you can learn, they may take time to learn. It may take time for you to get used to looking at the test answers and seeing which ones are the right ones and the wrong ones. It may take time actually getting in the practice of learning how to take the test. But the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you'll do and the more you'll ace the exam.
Excellent point there. I can't emphasize it enough. Tonight, Serena Williams plays. And she has been able, and this is, potentially the end of her tennis career, but she is such a phenomenal pro because her father and her mother insisted on practice. So you can't become proficient at anything that you do, be it tennis, be it basketball or whatever, without practicing. And that same notion applies with the ACT and the SAT. You saw that yourself. No matter how much I teach you the techniques and the strategies, they mean nothing if you don't practice over and over and over again. So that's one of the things that I emphasize, repeatedly, is the importance of practicing and developing after a while your own patterns of identifying techniques and strategies that work for you. I had a student who, through her practice, started to notice other kinds of patterns that were showing up in some of the tests. And as a result of that, I began to make some adjustments when I was teaching, saying, hey, let me tell you what this student knows. And then now I incorporate her observations that she got from practicing into some of the lessons. So it is pivotal, it's critical that you practice.
Very much so. You must practice. And I mean, practicing, as you said, practice makes perfect. And when you continue to do it, even the say perfect, I mean, there's going to be times where even when you are anxious, you may be saying, well, what if I don't get the perfect score? Or what if I am not able to get to that point to get into college? You kind of just have to, as she said, be confident, then to believe that everything's going to work out, everything is going to be okay. And as long as you make sure you are intentional about making sure you practice and making sure you read and even giving yourself those mental breaks. Because I mean, there's a lot of students too who are like me, who are used to working, and you end up working so much that your brain is on work overload and you need to be able to relax. So I do suggest that just for myself, I have to remember to give myself a break and relax as well as learn, because when you're able to do things, whether that's playing an instrument like me or listening to classical music or listening to your favorite song, being able to do that kind of helps you remember more when instead of cramming all the things in one and then feeling like you're overworked.
You're raising an excellent point, and I want to emphasize this. You take this test your junior year, your senior year, so much rides on it. But when you are applying for college, there are two key factors that go into that administrator's decision, those admissions officers' decision. Well, three. One is usually that essay, and then your GPA, and then your ACT and the SAT score. Now, your GPA is a culmination of 4 years of work. ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, right? That's the GPA. Think about all the hours that you've put in to getting that cumulative GPA. Yet people only put in 15, 20 hours of studying for the ACT, which weighs just as much as your GPA. So when we talk about practicing, we need to start early. I would venture to say that it should start in the ninth grade. Something that means that much to your admissions into college and to your getting a scholarship, you should put as many hours in it as you put the hours into getting a GPA. So it's something that I really want to encourage not just the parents and the students, but the school systems into figuring out ways to incorporate this into the curriculum. And that's something that I'm doing, with my company. I'm working with schools, and working with teachers, teaching the teachers how to begin to incorporate some of these test taking strategies that I teach into their curricula. So the point about continuing to practice and give yourself time, it starts sooner.
I want to commend you anyway, because that's awesome that you are taking the initiative to train other teachers and get that in there, because that's very important. And I feel like even those younger than me and listening know that it is good to make sure you start early. Back a couple weeks ago when we talked about back to school, the do's and don'ts, if you listen to that, one of the points that came up was that you have to be able to take advantage of your own education outside of school. And so that goes into the SAT and the ACT. That even goes to preparing yourself for college, that you have to do some things sometimes that are going to be outside of school. It may take extra time. You may have to set off some things or eliminate some distractions like social media or doing things that won't help to be able to really work towards your future. So as long as you know it's going to be a sacrifice and you know that you're going to have to put that time in, you'll do great. You'll be able to get smart for college. And so we talked about test taking. We talked about preparing that way. But I want to be able to maybe see about other ways, or just any advice you would give to other students or other high schoolers, how they should better prepare for college. Is there a checklist of things that maybe they should do, or maybe we should do, to be able to make sure we're prepared for college?
Very good question. So, and let me try to approach that by telling you what it is that we expect from students as college professors and why colleges put so much emphasis on certain qualifications for admissions. So these institutions want to make sure that when you get into college, I need for you to excuse me 1 second, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry about that. Okay. But when you get into, the hardest part of college is getting in. Once you get in there, we hope that you will be able to stay. I am expecting students to be able to think critically when they come to my classroom, to be able to write well, to be able to collaborate with other students in the classroom, and to be able to solve problems that come up in that classroom settings. Institutions want to know that you can do that. They want to know that when we let you in, you can get through and that you can get out. So what you need to do to get ready for that is to get some preliminary skill sets. Volunteer. Illustrate that you're going to be a good citizen when you come to campus. Come up with your own projects. Do some of the things that Kaylin is doing with that shows that once you come to college, you're going to be the type of citizen on campus who's going to innovate and make the campus environment more rich. And then you're going to be a phenomenal alumna. And we're going to be proud of you. So get that type of practice and study hard. Get involved in extracurricular activities. Those are the kinds of things that we want you to do.
And that's a good point to make. I mean, I know a lot of colleges, even hearing from some of the professors I've had, or even teachers in general, they encourage making sure that you present yourself the best way. Last week, we talked about social media and about the things like that. When it goes to social media, it goes even down deep to making sure that you are aware of what you post, you're aware of everything that you do, and make sure that you present yourself, because colleges may look at that as well. They may see that, say you have this scholarship. There's been a number of people who had a scholarship to a certain school. They posted something on social media, their scholarship was taken away, or they had to deal with different things. You have to kind of be smart, like we said, making sure when you're getting smart for college, you're also using your mental smartness to know whether this is good for me or bad for me.
You know what? Absolutely. And you better believe that these institutions are looking at your social media accounts. Because once you get into campus, we want to know that you're going to finish, and we want to know that you are going to represent what it is that the institution is about. And every institution has a mission, and they are allowing students in who are able to comply with that mission. And if you are exhibiting certain behaviors that counter the purpose and the mission of the institution, then they think twice about letting you in. Because remember, your degree is only as good as the institution. And the institution does not want people out there who are tarnishing its reputation. So definitely keep that in mind when you are posting on social media and when you are even getting involved in activities.
That is important to make sure that you're looking at that. I would also say, even this is just a thing that I was taught when I was raised, that even when you're going to classes and you're preparing for college, make sure that you learn the art of dressing for success, preparing your mind for success. Because when you go in, I know for me, I don't feel mentally awake and I don't feel ready to do anything unless I have my hair done, I'm fully ready, I'm awake, I'm looking presentable. And I mean, the presentable can mean whatever it means for you, but make sure that when you're going in front of people, even when you present yourself via scholarships to the professors and they're seeing you through your wording and how other people describe you, you want to also make sure that you dress the part when you get ready for college.
There is so much truth to that. And there is a time and a place for everything. We never want to, on a college campus, suppress a person's freedom to express themselves. You know, we do encourage students, however, to kind of emulate the kind of professional behavior that's going to be expected of them when they leave. And you just have to present yourself appropriately. There's a way to dress for church. There's a way to dress when a doctor comes in to perform a surgery. They dress a certain way. They have on scrubs, they have on sterile attire. I wouldn't want a doctor operating on me dressed like he just got off the street, or like he just left the bar, or anything like that. And oftentimes young people in particular misconstrue that. And when you are appropriate in your professional presentation, you just get a certain level of respect. You just do. And professors are human. And but as when you've been teaching as long as I have, which is forever, you tend to you're a little bit more open about how students present themselves, because we have this sense of determining how smart a student is regardless. But you're so right about how you present yourself.
And I think that even, I mean, we've said some great tips, especially you. You have been able to give some meaningful things, whether it comes to preparing for the SAT, preparing for tests, preparing mentally, physically for college. And so I think that, just to really wrap up the conversation, I do know that you were able to talk about you having a organization that helps you help students be able to get smart for college and to actually prepare for this. So I want to give you the space really quickly to just share more about that for the listeners so that they can get into these resources and really learn how they can get smart for college.
Kaylin, as you started out with your introduction, you mentioned that I have been a university dean, I've been an associate provost, I've been a vice president at 2 universities, and I've worked at 4 institutions in 3 states. And I started in 1995, to give you an idea of how long I have been in higher education. So all of those years and all of those experiences have taught me what it is that students need in order to be successful. And in all of those experiences, I've also had interactions with copious CEOs and executives from agencies, right? And you know exactly what it is that they're looking for, or potential employees or potential partners in business. Okay, so, but I started noticing that a lot of students just do not have those skills. It's there, but it needs to be honed and polished. And so ACE College Success Academy was created for that purpose of providing students with the skills, the experiences, and the knowledge that they need to get in, through, and out of college so that they can change the world. So my services are in terms of getting students in college. I'm helping with their essay preparation, with the ACT and the SAT, and those kinds of things. Getting them through college, I coach them how to navigate your freshman year, that transitional period. I coach them on how to begin preparing yourselves for graduate school and beyond, right? And then getting them out of college. What is it that you need to be doing? What are the next steps that you need to be putting in place in order to help yourself navigate the next stage? And that is why I created the business, and that's the service. Those are the services, rather, that I've been providing.
Wow. Y'all heard that. Now I'm trying to help y'all be able to get some of these resources. So is this locally for people who live in Tallahassee, or is this service offered across?
This service is actually global.
Okay.
There are students whom I'm helping who are in other countries. I have a student in particular in France.
Wow.
Who was a professional tennis player in France, who reached out to me to assist her as she kind of navigated this transitional period. She was a professional player there, and then she came here to the States to play, and that's how we met. And she needed help kind of navigating that process afterwards. So it's global. And a student whom I've assisted in getting into grad school in Israel. So the skill, and then there are potential colleagues in Canada who are interested in me extending the services in that regard. So the help is global. And I definitely help students here in Tallahassee, but because the ACT and the SAT class is done on Zoom, there have been classes I've had with students from Chicago, LA, Milwaukee, all of those students in one classroom, all on Zoom. Wow. And so, yeah, students all over the country and all over the world, need this help. So it's global.
Oh, that is an accomplishment, very much an accomplishment. So how can everybody reach you?
Well, students can definitely go to my Facebook page. My generation, we're all on Facebook and everything. And it's College Smart now. It's there. You can definitely email me anytime at getsmartforcollege@gmail.com. So I tried to make it easy. Get Smart for College, and that's the number 4. And believe it or not, Kaylin, I'm even on TikTok. I have a page on TikTok called Hack Your Professor. I get professor hacks. How students like you, Kaylin, can begin how to behave in class, how to know when to interject, and how to impress your professor. And so when students have questions, Dr. Haywood, this professor did this or said this in class, how should I respond? I teach the students how to navigate that. Send her an email and say this and say that. So I get professor hacks. It's really fun too. It's really fun. How to get a good letter of recommendation from a faculty member, all of that.
Yep. That sounds really trendy. Y'all check out our TikTok. Make sure that you're in the loop of everything, because y'all don't want to miss out on these resources. I mean, it has helped me personally. It's going to continue to help me as I finish off my senior year. And I encourage all those who want to be able to get in with these services to make sure that you look at all that Dr. Chanta Haywood is doing. I am so grateful that you were able to be on my show. And I am just ecstatic that everyone is able to hear all of these different strategies and different ways that we described earlier about getting smart for college. Before we do get off, I ask that you please check me out on my website, which is www.kaylenscaringconnection.com, where you can see all my social media platforms and anything that I have upcoming. I am very grateful for those who consistently listen to the show, and I hope that you all have a blessed rest of your day. Bye-bye. Hey everyone! Before I leave, I want to invite you to 2 upcoming events. First, the Girl Flow Project times Fasig Brook Law Offices is hosting their 2nd annual Back to School Donation Drive event on September 11th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It'll be held at 3522 Thomasville Road, Tallahassee, Florida 32309. The purpose behind the event is to collect feminine hygiene products and monetary donations that will go towards ending period poverty. At the event, there will be food trucks, live entertainment, and a little something for everyone. One of my good friends, Amaya Wayman, is the founder/CEO of the Girl Flow Project, and she always supports me. So I'm asking that you join her and me next Sunday as we take part in her event. Second, She Academy Incorporated, the DeBolas Johnson Foundation Incorporated, and Rickard's Avid program present Lunch and Learn, a career development luncheon for students grades 8 through 12 on September 17th at Rickard's High School from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. During the luncheon, participants will get the opportunity to meet with business owners, community advocates, and first responders for the Speed Networking Hour. They also will be able to participate in conversations about personal/professional development, entrepreneurship, and social media. To register, please go to https://bit.ly/22LNL. It's shown below on the screen. At the event, yours truly will be emceeing, so if you know any youth or you are a youth yourself that may be interested, please come out to the Lunch and Learn again on September 17th. Well, that's all for now. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you have a blessed night. Bye-bye.